So this is the first episode of the Fit for Science podcast. My name is Rob, and I also have a YouTube channel called The Quantified Scientist, where I test wearables, which is one of the things that we'll talk about today, specifically rings. And this is Stephan, my colleague, also a scientist, originally not a biologist like we're now. You were originally a
mathematician, yes.
So very different backgrounds. I'm originally a chemist. We're now sort of in the same field with somewhat similar, somewhat different approaches to using data and science in our daily lives.
Yes, exactly. And in this podcast, we would like to share our experiences. We want to expand Rob's n=1 to maybe to some degree n=2, although we are genetically or genotypically quite similar and also have some similar backgrounds. But nevertheless, we hope we share some interesting experiences and try to have some signal over noise.
Exactly.
But there will be noise.
And I think Stephan is actually one of the people that most systematically uses data in his life. I use it to some degree compared to the general population, probably more. But I think Stephan is actually the most systematic person that I know that maybe most lets his life be dictated by data to a degree. And he's also one of the funniest people that I know, so that's also good.
Yeah, we have the same humor, we hope. We touch a lot of people that have a similar humor.
We will figure out exactly what the focus of the podcast will be over time, but it will be very science and data-based. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to whatever you're listening to this podcast, and let's get started with episode 1
of the Fit for Science podcast.
Let's start with wearables. So I'm interested in wearables. I'm testing a lot of rings right now. And in my objective NS1 testing, certain brands do a lot better than others. But before going into the data, I would be interested to know how you use your Oura Ring at the moment, because we haven't discussed this in a long time, what you're getting from this data, because
that's true.
There's data quality, but also how do you actually use this?
Yeah, we actually bonded over that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you before started in the lab, I reached out to you because I've heard you're interested in quantitative self-quantification and wearables. And back then I already had an Oura Ring. So I have an Oura Ring since 2018. It was a Gen 2. I bought it in November before and had to wait then 11 months for it to arrive. Nowadays they're much quicker. I think, how long does it take to get one from buying to shipping?
Like a week or so before you have it in your hands. And I think probably in North America it's even better than here in Europe.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've been stuck to it, right? And often, I mean, I look at the data, I look at the research, they publish a lot, you test a lot. And for me, the Oura Ring really is a good middle thing in terms of accuracy. But the main thing is it's extremely convenient. Like, I mean, I love the battery life. You never have to think of charging it. I just plug it in once before I shower, and when I get out of the shower, it's at 100%.
But every day you charge it?
Every day, yeah. I put it into my daily routine, although I don't have to do it every day, right? Every 5 days would suffice, but for me, it's harder to do something every 5 days than doing it daily. It has good accuracy, and you just forget that you wear it. And this is really something I haven't had for any other wearable. And why am I still using it? Due to the fact that I joined so early, I don't have to pay subscription cost. So for me, it's actually only the device cost. Mm-hmm. And I still have an Oura Gen 3 because we discussed this definitely when the 4 came out, if I should upgrade or not and what it's more accurate. But I stuck with the 3. And
But how many battery replacements have you had? Like, that's a problem with these things. I think
true.
Rings break much more often than other wearables in terms of battery.
Definitely true. I mean, I even brought you for your B-roll too. One from my girlfriend and one from myself, where basically the battery broke. But I must admit, so it is my second Gen 3. But I must say the support was great. You just talk to a chat bot. They check all your firmware and they check on your hardware if there's actually a battery issue on their end. And then it's 1 to 2 weeks and you have a new ring in your hands.
So I had something similar. My battery also became bad on my first Oura Ring 4. And the chatbot actually said, no, the battery is fine. Okay. And I had to sort of escalate it to a human being, and then it was fine. But I think it's still an imperfect checking system.
Interesting.
But they have it quite well regulated, I would say, compared to some competitors where it's all humans that do it, which takes a little bit more time. But so far, also with the Ultra Human, I'm actually not wearing it now. It also broke, quickly replaced. Yeah. Though I think based on Reddit posts, even Ultra Human has more turnover of batteries that go bad. I think just the form factor of this small thing where a battery needs to fit in, somehow it just breaks more.
Yeah,
Even though
I
the
don't
form
know
factor is so nice.
Do you know, or do you think it's breaking, or is it simply the limit of the battery, right? I mean, the smaller battery, the more it could just run out of its capacity to be recharged.
But it's not a linear decrease, right?
Okay.
Like at some point, for me, it just stops working. Like it lasts from like maybe 7 days in the beginning to 6.5 to 6, and then all of a sudden it's like half a day.
Okay, yeah.
Like this happened to me a lot with these rings. So it's like something maybe it reaches a limit, but it's just dead.
Yeah. No, this was also our experience. Like for me and my partner, we both had this, like we woke up, we synced our data, and then there was like, oh, it's a data gap and you don't have power anymore. Like what? I had 80% when I went to bed. Basically the battery broke to the degree that it wouldn't hold a charge for longer than 10 hours or something. And you need a replacement, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm curious, what rings are you wearing right now? Like which ones?
So I have 2 Oura rings, so I want to compare them against each other basically. Also because it's the most popular one at the moment, it's good to make sure that they're consistent. It's just a test that makes sense because this is the sort of the majority people that have a smart ring have an Oura ring.
Is it a Gen 4, both?
Both Gen 4, Now you have this like colorful one, which I think looked cool.
Yeah.
Then I have a Galaxy ring, so Samsung. I'm retesting it. It was already released more than a year ago, but I've heard very little since. There's actually been one person who had the thing, sort of an influencer who had it swell up before a flight, and then he wasn't allowed to board the flight because they couldn't get it off.
But they had a swelling of the ring
of the ring, finger? And then the finger because of the
obviously.
constriction.
Oh my god, that's a nightmare scenario.
And
how did he get it off, or she?
I think they cut it, but they had to research where they could cut it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not trivial.
If I remember correctly. And then we have I think this is the Ringcon Gen 2. I'm testing it at the moment as well. Then I'm also testing Ultrahuman, and then on Raphael, I'm also testing 2 rings. So the Amazfit Helio ring and another Ringcon and one more. I have 3 on Raphael as well. So this is like a ring testing round.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's say data was perfect.
Yeah.
How do you use, let's just assume it's perfect. How do you use an Oura ring? Because I think that's where you are maybe more experienced even than me in actually implementing it.
Okay. So I have a morning routine, one segment where I actually look at all my Oura data. It's usually when I'm a little bit more awake already and can kind of check in how I feel. It's not like still in this drowsy phase that I experience. So when I've already made up my mind to some degree if I had a good night or not, or how recovered I feel. I think you emphasize this a lot as well, that we should check in with ourselves to have kind of a baseline and then use this data or whatever we look at to augment basically the experience. And then what I do, I basically work through the whole app, but this takes me, 1 to 3 minutes, where I start with the start screen and the data syncs within seconds. And then I look at, a readiness score. These scores, so there are 3 scores on Oura: readiness, sleep, and activity. I do not pay too close attention to the score itself because it's an aggregate statistic basically, but it is a good indicator. Usually my sleep scores is very good, like better than 85, which they then consider being very good. And the readiness actually varies quite a bit. And I look out for a few specific metrics. I look out for my lowest heart rate over the course of the night, and also when it arrived. I still see that there is a little bit of an artifact. So the ideal thing is a hammock, right? That you actually go down overnight, and in the middle of your biological night, you basically turn up, and then your body starts to rise again. But sometimes when I go to the toilet in the night and I come back from the toilet, my body seems to be even relaxing more. And I have this dip earlier in the morning, although it would be a perfect hammock. Then it says, it took you so long to get to this point of your lowest hearting rest. And then it thinks you had to recover more because it was more of a steep fall and then a rise. I think this is a wrong interpretation. That is the limitation of the...
but is it both a number 1 and number 2?
No, it's usually it's just a number 1. I hate it when it's number 2.
I thought you were relaxing so much during the night.
No, I mean, I don't know what's going on there, but no, number 2 rarely happens, and it would be tedious because I go fully, like everything is. I don't turn any lights on. Everything is dark.
Okay.
So that would be difficult. So I look at this pattern over time, over the whole night. And I really like that I don't get one value, I get the time course. I look at the time course of the HRV, which is the heart rate variability. And there I really like to see also that the average is quite high. And this is for me more of a metric of...
But also the pattern matters or just the maximum?
No, Neither. I like the mean most because it's so strongly fluctuating. I mean, it's like this, right? And then I think if I have, these are my top two, and I think it has good actually research and specificity and accuracy on those. And the third one is that if I would have to pick three things, I would definitely look out for is temperature. Because the temperature is something that is extremely stable. We don't have a lot of leeway, actually, as humans. And they don't tell you had, 38 degrees Celsius. They take you how much you deviated from your baseline. And I think this is super, super important because alone between genders or sexes, there is a lot of difference. But even on an individual basis right now, I'm a little bit coolish. And Rod is actually running hot.
Yeah.
How many degrees do we have in the room?
I guess 18 Celsius or so, which is warm for winter for me because I don't heat so much. So often it's like below 15. Yeah. I had a friend over and she was like, it's 15 degrees Celsius here right now, huh? I was like, yeah. And then I'm sitting there in my t-shirt.
In t-shirts, exactly.
So I don't know. I'll put, if I remember the Fahrenheit here, but it's like, I don't know. How do you describe 15 degrees Celsius? It's cold.
It's coldish. It's exactly. It's like, cold fall day.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly, yeah. And for me, it's on the colder side. For you, you're running hot, so we meet in the middle, I guess. But that exactly exemplifies what I wanted to say is that in absolute terms, we might have completely different baselines, and the deviation of the baseline is actually super informative. And this is also what the Ring in general gives me. I track it like over long times, what is it now, 7 years and a few months, I have data. I know how this changed over time, how I might improved or not. And then I see the deviations and could ask myself, is this a meaningful deviation? Did I do something different? Or should I adapt my day? So if I have really an elevated temperature to a small degree, I might not challenge myself so much physically. To a high degree, I would actually do an antigen test that we have access to for a few viruses, just to check if I should actually go to work and might infect someone, right?
Yeah. So here I should say what I found useful is to have two independent devices. So my personal use are an Oura Ring and a Whoop strap, also because I'm testing these devices. My wrists, I only have two, so these are always just devices that are being released. But then I have a biceps, which is usually free, and there can even be two next to each other without interfering the signal.
You have even a second biceps, I saw.
I know. But so these are just, I have enough fingers and enough space on my biceps and too few devices that are releasing for the biceps that these I can use personally. And if I see that one is deviating, then I just check the other. And if that one doesn't deviate, then I have less trust in that result. So for me, having two devices say the same thing from a different brand with a different algorithm, like that actually matters.
Yeah.
I've seen one say, hey, is something wrong? And the other say, go for it today. And then I'm like, okay, there's something with at least one of the two wrong.
And have you seen sometimes then, for example, obviously there's a limitation with the finger, right? They claim obviously the finger is the best point to measure stuff, but then here there's much more circulation, right? The brachialis, there's much more blood, and most of these signals come from blood, right? Yeah. And light. So have you seen that there may be a deviation because also this is more nimble? I don't move my arm, I move my fingers a lot.
Mm-hmm. So there's more artifacts here. Also what I heard from sleep staging. So if you want to track your sleep stages, there's just more artifacts going on because you have more independent degrees of movement. In the end, it doesn't matter too much because depending on what you're interested in, right? Like for sleep staging, you usually use like the differences between the heartbeats. If you're lying still, it's kind of okay, no matter where you measure. But during sports, you just cannot use a ring for heart rate. Yeah. And for temperature, I actually don't know. Like I have no clue if it's better to do it here or on where there's more chance of like blanket deviation or whatever. Yeah. Like it's hard to say what is more consistent there. But I don't know. What I always hear and that I haven't found a reference for is people say measuring the closer to the heart is better. And I don't know if this is actually a fact or just like an intuition that people then repeat to each other.
That's true. Do you think or do you know is the core argument of them that the signal is stronger in terms of, less obstruction, right? So the pulse wave is still stronger there and it becomes more diffuse.
That's, I think, the intuition.
Okay.
But I don't know if there's any, because the blood does just need to go back. Like it just cannot stop.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. If you do proper ECG, right? You also put LEDs everywhere, right? There are like
The leads,
leads, yes.
I guess.
You put them everywhere, right?
I mean, depends what you want to measure, right? So you put them closest to the signal you want to measure. If you want to measure the eye movement, you put them close to the eye. If you want to measure heart rate, you put them close to the heart. But that's, again, electrical signal, something very different from the waves of blood that these devices measure. Well, it's actually quite interesting, and I never realized this, talking about heart rate measurements, so it's a bit off topic. I always thought, so what you measure with ECG is like the heart beats, and you can clearly see this peak, right? Like this very distinct peak. Yeah. And with the heart rate they measure here, or on the wrist, or on the biceps, it's like this wave that goes. And I always thought what they do is they do some kind of Fourier transform, which is basically looking at the frequencies in the signal, and then they get to your heartbeat. Yeah. But that's not what they do anymore. That's back in the olden days what they did with these kind of signals, but now they have such good machine learning models that they just feed it reference data and raw PPG data, and they train a model to figure out heart rate from that signal, because there's so much noise that this somehow deals better with the noise, maybe with some pre-filtering, than actually trying to find that frequency in the signal.
Okay, interesting.
That's how the best models now, like I think Apple has a paper about it, and Google also told me in like private communication that they cannot exactly say how their model is working because it's just a complex trained model. And they both do super well in terms of heart rate tracking. So the paradigm is changing a little bit.
But that would, two things there. The one is, I mean, they probably still Fourier transform before just to go into frequency space. A lot of machine learning is then done in the frequency space for some reason, because it works better. But the second point is here that actually, back to your last point, is this or this location better?
So what is this and this for the people who don't have video?
Is the finger location or the arm or the distal and the proximal location better for measuring certain things? Is absolute obsolete. It doesn't matter. It matters more where do I have more training data, right? Because if I can deconvolute anyway the noise out of it that is added due to the artifact of my arm or my full arm length, then it doesn't matter anymore if I have enough ground truth data, and machine learning basically takes care of it.
Yeah, you would hope. Still, at some point, you would need better data again to get better. So it's like you can sort of pull yourself up by your bootstraps to a degree, but then data quality is the only way to get even better potentially.
True. And also scale, like probably also the amount of data.
Like
quality and the amount. I have not the feeling that they are they're looking for data. I think the people, there are enough customers now that actually
but they need reference data, right?
Yeah.
It's not just
true.
So that's we can actually, I mean, to close off the ring part, I would say, or I don't know if we need to close it off, but we're talking a lot about the Oura Ring, but that's not the only ring. I'm testing the Samsung Ring, but also here the Ring-Con. And in my experience, at least so far, Oura is sort of historically the leader, but they are also still the best at the moment, probably due to a combination of training data, investments, just they've had more time and effort to make it better, but they have a subscription model, which is bad for new users, and old users get it sort of, they need to buy the device, but they get it for free. So there are competitors that are hopefully also getting better and putting some pressure on Oura. But at the moment, they are still, in all my testing, the best out of all rings. I mean, I'm retesting now, so this data I didn't analyze, but up until this point that I look at the data, Oura is still the best out of the rings.
And how do you like the user experience of the other apps, for example? Like, I think that's a big factor. Because if you cannot at a glance and understand everything, and Oura does a good job in explaining all the metrics. If you want to know, there's always a education card and you click on it. And I also think the latest app release made it much more beautiful. And this is a factor if you like to return to it. And there are also a new few functions that I also like a lot. So maybe we can even touch upon that if we want. But definitely, how's the user experience of these others? Because I think software you can catch up faster to some degree, but then sometimes it's neglected. And I think...
No, that definitely, there's a big difference between apps. So Oura and Whoop are at the moment my favorite apps. So Whoop is the one you wear on your biceps or your wrist. They have a much more understandable ecosystem. I think Whoop makes it a bit more gamified even than Oura, where they have this biological age, which is like totally invented but useful potentially. and makes you feel good about yourself.
Or not.
Or not.
I have a friend who has a higher age.
Yeah.
His chronological age.
And I'm like 12 years younger, and I'm like, yeah. I'm, I think, 25 point something according to Whoop. And I'm 37, unfortunately. Stephan is also looking at his face. You might think he's young, but he's younger than me.
Yes, exactly. By 3 years.
But yes, Whoop also has a good app, in my opinion. The latest Oura release, I think, is nice. I didn't like the sort of squished fonts, but that's very personal. Like, just design-wise, it looked a bit like forced somehow, but it made sense for the like vertical dimensions of such an app. And others are catching up, though not as good. I think closest at the moment are probably Google or Fitbit. So Google owns Fitbit, so it's the same thing. They're getting a lot better. And a budget variant of all this is Amazfit. So they have both a ring and a strap, and they, to a degree, basically copied just the Whoop app version, one version ago. Like a lot of the same, like even like the check mark in the corner that you click away. Like, I mean, what, I don't know who said it's better to steal something well than to invent something bad. I don't know the exact saying, but they're probably for people who cannot afford a subscription. With both Whoop and Oura, they are the closest in terms of app experience. And their strap actually has quite good heart rate tracking on me compared to a lot of the competition.
The biceps strap.
Also on the wrist. That's quite
quite good.
It's like one of the cheapest, like 99 euros or dollars, you get it. And it's no subscription, and it
nothing. Okay.
Works quite well.
Do they have a relationship to, I mean, the name indicates Amazon, but it's not, right? It has no relationship to big tech. Okay.
I think they're Chinese, actually, from origin. So not connected to Amazon as far as I know. They used to have really bad heart rate tracking, and all my videos were so negative. Yeah. And then once they updated it, they actually reached out to me, sent me a device, and it did a lot better. So they must have known that they weren't great. Like, they had... The design was always super beautiful. The screens super crisp on the watches and stuff. Just the quality of the data was really bad. And then at some point, they just invested time, money, effort, and
was it a software or a hardware fix? Or both?
I think both.
Both. Okay.
I mean, they now have the same sensor in every device, and this does rather well. But you cannot fix it without firmware. So, for instance, Pixel or Google is one that I think had a few firmware updates that clearly made improvements.
Okay. Yeah.
And they have this, they now told me they have this like machine learning or AI, we now call it, behind to train basically from raw signal, maybe with a Fourier transform in between to heart rate.
Okay.
But because let's get to our second segment, news. Yeah. So we're going to try to have segments in the podcast. We'll figure it out as we go.
We stumble through it.
Exactly.
Will be sections. There will be sections.
And we haven't set the title of the podcast, at least the temporary title. Yes. It's called Fit for Science.
Yes, exactly. Because we are both trying to be fit for our day job, which is doing science, and is quite cognitively and mentally challenging. And I think most of the things in health are downstream of the brain. It's the seat of your conscious, the seat of who you are, and also what you're capable of. And in knowledge worker space where we are working mainly on the computer. We are computational scientists. We try to stay fit for being science, but we try doing it with science, right?
It's like feeding back on itself.
Yes.
And because we're scientists, it just made sense as a title.
And we try to stay fit.
Exactly. But now we wanted to talk about a news segment. And one is that I actually worked together with some people on a sleep study. So I was sort of an advisor. I provided the devices, data export, and some advice on how I would actually implement a sleep study. And we used sort of a standardized framework that was published before. But I advised a bit on the devices. And there we actually saw, in my opinion, devices generally did quite okay, but some devices also really struggled. And what I thought was interesting, we still need to analyze it separately, but we have 5 days to the study where each day is a different sleep pattern. So on the first day, people wear polysomnography, which is like the reference, and I think 6 or 7 different wearables, but like 2 copies on each, like a copy on each side of their body. So they have like a Garmin left, a Garmin right, and then a Pixel Watch left, a Pixel Watch right, and everything. So we had 20 people, 5 nights, and the first night was just getting used to the polysomnography. So you wear all the devices.
So an adaptation night.
An adaptation night, exactly.
Because these are not professional quantified scientists like you are, who do it every night. They had to get used to this.
Exactly.
So also a sleep lab, right?
So they can go home.
They go home.
So it's ambulatory, it's called. But basically in the lab, they put on all the electrodes. Then you go home, you sleep, and then you have a normal night's sleep the first night. So polysomnography, this is the gold standard of sleep staging. So measuring deep, light, REM, etc. Then the second night's normal night. So then they've hopefully already gotten used to a little bit sleeping with this device. But then the third night is the crying baby night, which is not an actual baby, but they are woken at 3 o'clock with some alarm. Then they have to stay in bed awake for 10 minutes and they have to press buttons to show that they're actually awake during this time. Then they have to get up and walk around for 10 minutes and then they can get back in bed, but they can only sleep 80% of their normal sleep duration.
How is this timed? Like, how is there one device that does all the timing and indicates to them now this action, now that action, or do they have to keep it out themselves?
I think
like
so. This was implemented. I don't actually know how Pavlos, the one who ran it, implemented it, but it's not. Don't think the alarm is on the polysomnography device itself. I think this is a separate on their phone or something. I think they just, because a lot of the participants were like researchers or. So some were more familiar, but I think they just master students basically. Yes, they get credits for it, I think, or money. I don't actually know. But that was the crying baby night. So then the next night was recovery night, which is also different because they were just allowed to sleep as normal, but they had to recover from that bad night's sleep. And I think there was one lady who got like 0 hours of sleep one night, and they felt so bad for her because she just felt so observed by this device.
Exactly. It's like the Hawthorne effect, but going totally in the opposite direction, right? You change your behavior when you know you're observed, and suddenly.
And then the fifth night was extended sleep night. So then they were told to stay in bed. I don't know if it was 10 or 20% longer than normal, or a certain amount longer than normal. So we have all these nights, and I mean, the app from the university itself did best. I mean, this is always, it makes some sense, but it's tricky because they were involved in developing this app. It's called Sleep 2. It's also getting more and more known now.
Is it only for the sleep science space, or is it consumer
facing? It's
for
for consumer facing for people with sleep issues mainly. Okay. So sort of sleep coaching, or even for normal sleepers, but they sleep better.
So it's med tech.
Yeah.
It's medical technology.
I guess they're not, I don't know if they're officially like licensed. I don't know how they're licensed, but it's for sleep improvement. But the Oura Ring was actually one of the best sleep trackers, most consistent over all the stages. So for instance, the Apple Watch, which generally does well in my testing, was really bad at deep sleep. It just missed most of the deep sleep. And I think this was especially probably because it has an expectation of certain patterns during the night. So it has sort of a bias towards predicting certain things, and that just didn't happen for these weird nights.
Okay.
So I don't have the raw data yet. I want to analyze it separately for like the normal night's sleep versus the interrupted sleep but this was like everything combined. So the Oura was actually the best overall. It had like sensitivity or specificity. I always confuse them. This is like my brain just doesn't, but like agreement with the reference for each of the individual stages was always around 70-75%. Okay. So actually quite good because you're classifying 4 things: deep, light, REM, and awake. Yeah. And it sounds low, but it's actually really good. So I was quite impressed.
Especially only with having a tiny device you forget on your finger. I mean, we always have to remember there is I think it's a dual core, it's memory, it's battery. Then there is, I don't know, a ton of sensors, and all has to work in conjunction. And then there's, I think, you didn't transfer actually the data is not analyzed on the iPhone. No. It's analyzed on device, right?
I thought it was transferred to.
I think.
I could be.
I'm not sure.
Most devices actually transferred to a server.
Yeah, and the server does it. I think there is some onboard processing that is quite significant. Otherwise, why would you need a dual core and so on? And it's quite quick also to show you then the results. And I think even without Wi-Fi, so not connecting to the internet, you get your scores.
Okay.
So I think the staging and stuff is then really trimmed down in terms of model size to fit in this device. Yeah, we live in the future.
I mean, it sounds like we're selling the Oura Ring, but I think there's a lot of limitations to the Oura Ring, and it's one of the devices I use myself, but I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. I would recommend it to some people.
Depends on your...
So we also tested Whoop, which did okay, but they actually now have an updated algorithm. So we're actually in contact with them to rescore all the nights. Fitbit was robust, but not as good. Again, they also have a new algorithm. They couldn't rescore for us, unfortunately, for privacy reasons. I don't know exactly how that works, but they're just afraid, I think, to actually touch the data specifically that we tell them for these profiles instead of being completely anonymous. But yeah, the Apples struggled with deep sleep, and then Garmin struggled a lot with REM sleep. Overall, quite a bit worse than even Apple. But there was quite some spread, and they tested some other ring, Circle Ring, I think it was called. I've never tested this one. This was really bad. I hope I'm mentioning the correct name here. I can actually, let's see if I can actually find the paper in my paper pile somewhere. But yeah, so there was quite some spread, and I think it's really interesting to actually validate this more independently, because so far most studies actually are done by the companies themselves, which is always a bit tricky, or at least sponsored by a company.
Exactly. I think they should maybe even pool their sponsoring, right? So you say, hey, I'm a sleep scientist. I want to test this, but do not be biased. Please, in equal shares or in equal shares, depending on how big the company currently is, because maybe a small startup cannot afford so much, but everyone basically pays into the funding bucket. Thereby the bias should be removed to some degree, at least the financial bias. Talking of bias, you mentioned something interesting. You said that the Apple Watch might be biased in expecting at the end more deep sleep. But don't you think all the sleep staging algorithms should be and are biased in that way? Because they are, right?
They are. So, I mean, it doesn't expect deep sleep necessarily at the end of the night. You usually have it at the beginning of your night. I don't know if that's what you meant.
No. Yeah, true. It's the other way around. Sorry. It's the other way around. You expect more deep sleep in the beginning and REM sleep in the second half, right? Exactly.
We actually made these they're called Bland-Altman plots. Basically, what you plot is the amount of deep sleep somebody actually got along the x-axis, and then the difference between the device and what you actually got along the other axis. And what you usually see is a negative correlation. For basically every device, there was a negative correlation. So if you got very little deep sleep, it predicted too much. If you got a lot of deep sleep, it predicted too little. And that was true for every device, even for the own company that the university has to make this algorithm.
And this was for all nights or only the disturbed nights?
This was all nights combined, so I didn't analyze it separately yet. So there were some nights where there was basically like 10 minutes of deep sleep for some people, or 5 minutes, because they were so disturbed. And then the algorithm just said quite a lot more, like 30 minutes more or something.
Was the disturbance always in the first half of the night?
It was at, I don't know if it was after 3 hours or at 3 a.m.
Oh, okay.
I think it was at after 3 hours.
That would make sense, right? That it should still be in this first half where actually deep sleep should dominate. And then you disturb this and then it's gone.
But yeah, again, we don't know how much also this wasn't a normal night's sleep, even though they were allowed to go home. Sleeping with this, like I've done it for, I don't remember, like 90 times or something. And I had to get used to it
even you
as well. I think I might have done it more than 100. I don't remember. So I used to have this every week. I would get a polysomnography done for a study.
So 90 bad nights.
Actually, I always thought I had a super high sleep efficiency. They actually told me, you have such a high sleep efficiency. But it was just because I was sleeping so little. And then that night, I was forced to go to bed earlier. So I had like a super good night of sleep. But just because I was not sleeping enough the rest of the nights at that time. Like in the middle of my PhD, I was getting like on average 6 hours sleep at some point.
That's not good.
And that wasn't good. And I realized by looking at data, that's why I actually changed my behavior.
That's good. Because, I mean, sleep efficiency is the amount that you're actually asleep by the amount you're in bed.
Yes.
For the listener.
Exactly. So the percentage of time you're asleep when you're in bed. Exactly.
While you're in bed. Exactly. So the higher the better that you actually use the time in bed with actual sleep.
Yes.
And obviously, if you restrict your sleep, this efficiency increases. Because if you only go for 5 hours or 6 hours to bed, your body is craving sleep and will use every minute for the sleep.
I think I had 93 or 97, like some crazy high number.
Okay.
But
97 probably.
Yeah. So that's the sleep study. I'll be making a video about that also at some point. And once I can actually access the data, I will highlight that a bit more. But for now, I only have a relatively sort of overview and not the details. But talking about news, actually, the one thing I wanted to talk about first, if you're okay with this, why you decided to get braces at 33? Four. So in the Netherlands, so braces for your teeth, we usually, like, it's quite common.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a little bit of like disturbance in your mouth, you would get them. I got them. My sister had quite straight teeth, so she didn't get them, but it's really common to get them, and it was covered to a high degree. It wasn't super expensive to do. You didn't get them for some reason?
I had no braces as a kid.
So why did you now decide to get them?
I mean, I never had so crooked teeth that any medical or doctor basically recommended it heavily or strongly. And also, I think it's visually not that bad. I smiled into the camera. At least no one is running away when I smile. But my teeth are, it's a deep story. Rob knows about it. It's like, I'm not so lucky with my teeth. And now there was the occasion that I actually am missing a tooth. So there's a gap. And my dentist said, hey, this is an opportunity. If you want that ever fixed, you often need space. And for space, they usually actually file away parts of your tooth, right? But if you actually have a gap, you might have a toother, right? You close the gap and you fix your teeth. And he recommended the fixing not because he knows me already. I'm optimizing for cosmetics. I always ask him, is it medically good? Does it make sense? And he said, if it would cost nothing, like if it would be free, he would definitely do it because it simply elongates the longevity of your teeth. And teeth are important because that's how you chew food. And as longer you can chew food, the more you enjoy eating. And as long as you enjoy eating later on, even you're older, that actually becomes a problem, right? So fragility or sarcopenia, the loss of muscle mass, often also goes hand in hand with that people don't like eating or want to eat or enjoy eating anymore. So teeth are actually a critical component of longevity. And so when he stated it like that, like if it would be free, he would definitely do it because it simply removes some potential problems that emerge later. And what are those problems? If you have crooked teeth, you have narrow angles where stuff can get stuck and get infected or whatever, or caries. And also the pressure is not evenly distributed. And if the pressure is not evenly distributed and your teeth age, at some point something breaks. And this tends to happen to me, that teeth break. So yeah, long story short, I went to, you have to go to another doctor, right? This is the jaw doctor basically. And they told me they cannot close the missing tooth, the hole basically, because you would always close from the back side to the forward and not from the forward to the back. And he would not recommend to do this because I have very nicely aligned teeth. So he had a lot of good things to say about my teeth. Usually that's not my experience. But he said, nevertheless, the degree of crookedness reaches a limit that actually my insurance will cover to a high degree. So it went for me into this realm of, is it free? No, it's not free. So this is a very expensive procedure. I think it's in total 6,500 euros, which is a lot of money, especially for a PhD student. Yeah. But as we are both university employees, we have better insurance to some degree in some respects. And in this respect, we have that. And they pay a lot. So now I'm in this middle realm that's actually not that expensive. And I simply thought it's a good time to do this now. And what I have to do is I have these... Do you have that in the Netherlands as well? It's like, it's not a fixed thing. Mm-hmm. I have Invisalign. These are aligners, and they are like simply plastic. And it's actually super AI augmented, the whole procedure.
Yeah, I heard, but I don't know the details.
You don't know? Okay. So the first thing is they do photographies and X-ray and everything before. And they put it into a model. And then they simulate how much they actually can move because they also know where the roots are of your teeth and even the prosthesis or so. But the really cool thing is, and my partner did the same thing 5 years ago, but she didn't get all the equipment. Now she's really envious because I got a thing for my iPhone that I put on my iPhone on the camera, and the other end I have to stick into my mouth every 12 days and go to a mirror, and then I have to do some exercises that are like a video game to they measure, they make photographs basically, but then they measure everything and then they show me before, after. And thereby they decide if I should switch to the next one. Every 12 to 14 days, I have to switch to the next extreme or the next aligner basically to get there. It's like
Well, what is the game? Or what is
the game is so I see my own teeth as a symbolic version, as an illustrated version, and there are bubbles, and I have to open and close my mouth to a specific degree, and then I have to go around and I have to capture all the bubbles, and sometimes I have to bite down on a bubble, and then it makes like bloop. And it's like it's all gamified.
But you're looking at your screen like
I'm looking at a mirror,
another screen.
a mirror to look at my screen because it's facing away from me as the camera is facing into my mouth with this device that I have to have in my mouth, and the device stretches out your mouth, right? You have this. It looks a little bit horrific, but it's actually quite gamified and it works well. So I had to do it just 2 days ago, and then I got an approval 10 hours later. It's now please switch to your second aligners. Because
and they can pre-make all the aligners. Like they know how it will shift and what the sizes will be.
That's what they did. Interestingly, I have a missing tooth, right? But I wanted to address this. I want to have a prosthesis in the next half year, basically. And I told them, like, because now the aligners all have a gap there.
Yeah.
And they said, we will have to print new ones. So yes, they do it for 32 aligners. You get all of them in one go. So I have a lot of plastic at home. And microplastics are not on my mind anymore.
They're 3D printed, like with a...
I have no idea how they're actually printed. I think is 3D printed only done layer by layer still? Or is there a new method?
I think there's some where you like heat up like a mass already with some kind of focused laser somehow.
Okay.
But probably it still in effect goes layer by layer.
I think that wouldn't be strong enough, or it would be prone to break. I think what they do is they have a plastic, they have a mold, and then they do a very, I don't know, the mold must be very dynamic because they will not do a mold 32 times for me. But I think then they put plastic on top and it's kind of molded over it. But I have no idea. I should ask.
But are there studies that show increased longevity specifically in people with straight teeth or something like this? Or is this more a hypothesis based on knowing just people that eat more, like that keep eating, keep living, or keep living well?
I did not check specifically. Classic Rob question, love it. That's why I love talking to you. You always ask the critical questions. I think it's one thing is shown that tooth health is related to longevity. Definitely, I think this is quite consensus, but the exact mechanism not. And then it's a hypothesis or not a leap to say, okay, how do I keep my teeth? And then that's I think for me the jump that I made from the claim or the statement my dentist made, where he said, you avoid more problems, or you have a better position. You're in a better position if your teeth are straight because they're easier to clean, easier to maintain, and the pressure and so on is also the same. And then I personally made just the leap to, okay, this improves tooth health, hence tooth health improves longevity. So I made this connection for myself, but I don't have a specific paper about crookedness and longevity in mind, or didn't even look it up because this was good enough for me.
Cool. Yeah, I'm happy I already got it when I was younger because I don't have to bother. I still have to like the metal in my mouth.
That keeps it, right?
That keeps it.
Yeah, I will get that same, they told me.
Because I like some shifted a little bit, but not a lot. And then on top, I don't need it because I think the bottom keeps the top in shape, basically.
Yeah, they are aiming for, I don't know the term for this, but your teeth should go hand in hand, right? And that's what they try to do. And that's also why my back tooth actually will not be touched by this treatment because they're already going like this. Apparently, they said.
That's good.
Beautiful. I never hear that about my teeth.
Well, half of them are fake by now. So
exactly.
Can they actually move the ones that are
I was
fake?
also worried about that. No problem, they said.
I guess it's like a fake root is still a root in a way.
Exactly. I mean, it's an implant. It's like a canal, and then they put some metal in it, and I guess it moves around as good in the bone because I guess the limiting factor is that the bone around it has to be shaped, right? You move within the jaw, and what moves, if it's metal or the actual tooth, might not matter. But they said it's not a problem because I was also worried. Like, I have kind of these 3 fixed points in my mouth. We cannot, do you work around them? Like, no. We move them as well.
But I somehow wonder the fact that apparently, like, if I would remove this metal wire, my teeth move back.
Yeah.
Does that mean there's constant tension in my mouth that is somehow negative. Like, what is this? Why does it want to move back? And what does that mean for some kind of irritation? I don't know if this exists, but this is like a thought I have.
Yeah, I think your tooth arrive in a local minimum, in an optimal state, so to speak, at some point. But I also think your tooth move over your whole lifetime to some degree, and the loss of teeth and the changing of chewing patterns due to pain avoidance, or when you have then actually a tooth removed and then you actually should only chew on the other side. I think this leads then to movement, and all of this together, like it's an adaptive system. Everything in there is alive. So I think when you make them straight, it's a colloquial thing to say they go back. I think they just move. And they will move into the way of least resistance. And I don't think if you would then leave it, you end up with your starting point. I don't think that's true. But it's just my thinking and understanding of biomechanics. That's very limited.
Maybe we should highlight again, we're not medical doctors.
Yes.
We work in science. So I used to be a chemist turned bioinformatician, or basically biology on the computer. You used to be a
mathematician. Although
you can see now.
Yes, and then now we're doing very similar things on the computer. But we're definitely not medical doctors and don't have...
Though I do think you are more structured and clean for sure than me. Like in some ways you're very...
my showering game? Or?
No, your desk is like perfect, perfectly organized, like, and your thinking, you really enjoy like making things very structured.
Yes,
if
that's
I
true.
interpret.
That's very true. Yeah, I'm quite heavy on the convergent side, and I need to structure things and put it in order. But this is also a little bit limiting because I need it to then operate efficiently. And some people just they can really thrive in the chaos as well, and I feel uncomfortable there. So yes, it's a gift and a curse sometimes. But I need people who are also. I do know that I need people who are divergent thinkers. Otherwise, I will just over-optimize and get stuck in optima that are not global optima. I need people who take me out of this comfort zone and also that introduce a lot of like ideas. And I love talking to you because you will just like go left, right, and poke holes. And I'm like, okay, now I have to digest and go home and think about everything and have to maybe reassess my bottom line.
So talking about going left and right, we have two topics I think would be interesting. So, but one we could save for the next episode. So we have the blue light blocking glasses question, but also the other VO2 max study that you're also a part of.
Yeah.
Which would you be most keen to talk about?
I think the best thing is the study because it's connected to the rings still. And you can give a quick introduction to the study, and then I have a thing to say because I went for a run yesterday for the study.
So VO2 max is sort of a measure of your fitness, basically how much oxygen you can inhale and process. I don't know how to really low level or high level, utilize. And wearables like a band or a watch or a ring or a strap, they all try to estimate this based on data that they gather. Because normally you would go into a lab. In the lab, you would have this mask on that can measure all kinds of gas intake and exhaling and actually calculate
only from your mouth, the gas.
Yes. We can invent a special device for you.
Some air breather.
I do think maybe if you like measure the composition, it tells you something about your gut health. I guess this must have been done.
Yeah, true.
There must be studies about this.
But you need to measure other gases.
Yeah. Would be actually cool to get the Ig Nobel if you do this. So there's the Nobel Prize and the Ig Nobel for sort of funny studies. So would be cool. But getting back to the study, so similar to the sleep study, now I was interested to know which devices are actually reliable at measuring this. So together with the Sports Institute here in Vienna, we are recruiting about 20 people probably to wear 7 different devices over 6 weeks. So 2 weeks per 2 devices, usually for one segment there's 3. To do the protocols as I informed with the manufacturers, like what do you recommend people do to get the best estimate. And then in the lab, they will do at the end of week 2, roughly a cycling VO2 max test in the lab. And at the end of week 4, a running or the other way around. And because I'm giving quite expensive stuff to people, I try to recruit people that I know, hopefully within quite a broad range of VO2 max values. And Stephan is now our second participant to do the whole protocol.
But not as good as the first one. I already know. Raphael
And
is
we're
much better.
mostly focusing on running VO2 max because that's what most devices actually measure. In the lab, we do both, but most devices focus on running. And we cannot ask people to, because usually you need like a power meter on the bike and it's like, gets quite complicated. Whereas for running, you just need to go out and run according to a protocol.
Yeah.
And you
Just.
just. And sometimes you need to follow rules. Sometimes you can just do whatever.
Exactly.
And you did the first week? No?
Yeah, no. I just I now started the first week. Definitely did the first run yesterday and had to set up everything again, or not set up. Actually, you set everything up perfectly for me. I just had to plug everything in and charge it, and that was already the first pain. That right now I'm using the Samsung Galaxy and the Polar. And the Polar actually has great battery. So this is just because I neglected it for weeks now because it was a vacation. The battery was out, but actually they have great battery. But the Samsung already did annoy me already before. When I started, it's just like 1 day later and it's all, or 2 days later, it's all gone. You have to basically always think ahead if you go for a run. So running for me was always an exercise that is amazing. You go home, you put on your running shoes, you go out and you can start a workout. Not anymore. It's not when you do a study for Rob. Now it's like thinking ahead. Are all the devices charged? Do they have all the current, firmware update, which I had to do? Then, interestingly, I had to charge the Polar Watch. And it has a tiny magnetic charging thingy. And it always, I put it there, it said it charges. I didn't touch it. And then it somehow detached. So it disconnected.
Oh, really?
Stopped charging. And I checked 15 minutes later and it's like, why is it still at 1%? Okay, fiddle around. And then
I never had this issue.
Okay, yeah, then it's just me. A lot of things could just be
I think
me.
other wearables have it even more. Like Garmin for me is one of the worst. They have like this. I mean, kudos in a way to them that they don't change their charging port for I don't know how long.
Yeah.
But the thing, you plug it in, but still like if it rotates a bit, I think it just it has, I think, a 4-pronged thing that inserts. So for male go into the female thing, and it just loses connection sometimes, and I'm like fiddling to checking does it keep recording. But with Polar I haven't had the issue because it's like, but
maybe I figured it out. But then I have to put it on. Okay, the one is for like a watch, like a watch strap, but the other one is like a Velcro strap, but you have like to open it, and my hand is too thick. I cannot fit it through the opening, so I have to open it fully, then fiddle it in again. I'm already annoyed.
So I should find you a large.
I don't know. And then I put on the strap, the chest strap as a ground truth, basically, and also for the Polar Watch to connect to. This is fine. But then you go out, and then you have to start all of them, and then you forgot how all the apps differently start. And some have quite responsive. You see when it's a smartphone developer, right? The Galaxy was like, okay, this works. With the Polar, it's like you touch it, you think that nothing happens, and then 1 second later, the latency is just so. I'm not used to this kind of latency when you're using an iPhone.
I wonder which Polar I gave you, but yeah.
I don't know. I can send you a photo.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it has actually responded. Then both of them finally work, and then you run, and then you're done, and you want to stop, and you're like, okay, how do I make it stop now? Yeah. I mean, a lot is something where I could prepare better, but for me, running was always this one thing where I don't need anything, right? I just need trainers, and I just have trainers at home, right? And I just put them on, I can go for a run. Now there's all this whole overhead. But as I said, my partner, she has a Apple Watch forever, and she loves it for exercise because it's just turning it on and it works. And I've been using actually the Oura Ring for all my exercise tracking. But
bad heart rate.
Exactly. You're dying inside.
I'm like, how can you do it?
Yeah. I mean, before, what was my alternative? My alternative was starting an app that basically was a timer, and that put then into Apple Health for this duration. Stephan did strength training. Or for this duration, he did running with, and it was 5K. And this data I also get with Oura now, inside of the system basically, and they do try to add some heart rate. It might be very off, but still it's like increases and then it decreases. So I think the trend is correct. And before I had 0 heart rate data, and I was hoping that at least the little heart rate data I get corresponds to physical exertion to some degree, that the kilocalories are at least to some degree closer than my, before it was 25 minutes running, and then it was like there are these formulas, right? Okay, running has an MET off, and they just put something. That's my hope.
Talking about kilocalories, I was actually yesterday indoor cycling, and then I know exactly what wattage I'm putting in.
You should.
So I'm doing 2 hours at 200 watts. And then I'm like calculating in my head, okay, how many kilocalories is this? And then I look it up, blah, blah, blah. And I think it was like, I hope I'm not misquoting this, but like 350 kilocalories that I put into the device.
Yeah.
And I was like, how inefficient can the human body be? And it was like, like references, which I didn't check in detail, said something like, usually the body is like 4 to 5 times, using 4 to 5 times more energy than you in the end put into the device.
Okay.
And I somehow didn't expect the human body to be so inefficient in translating basically just muscle movement to like everything you're doing to the input into your bike. But apparently we are quite efficient even at something as cycling.
So that does mean, if I understand correctly, 350 kilocalories from an energy perspective were put into the bike during your exercise. But actually, your body burned 4 times as much.
Yes.
Okay, this was more expecting with 2 hours of cycling. I was expecting something in the realm of 800 to 1,200. So now we're in the realm of 1,200 kilocalories. Okay, that makes more sense.
But I was just thinking, somehow expecting, because with evolution that we would be so efficient. But of course, we are heating up, so your body needs to cool you down. And all these things are happening. And the blood needs to keep flowing, and it sort of makes sense. But then usually the machines we have are even less efficient. So that's why I was quite surprised.
Yeah, I mean, we are not optimized for cycling, right? That's what we are optimized for, I guess, walking and jogging even, or fast walking. So I think the most efficient muscle would probably be, next to our heart, that has to constantly do something. But in terms of like skeletal musculature, would probably be your calf or your soleus, right? There are these studies with the soleus race. Do you remember we discussed this before? Because it was all the rage in all the influencers. Should we quickly touch upon it?
Yeah.
There was like, on your shin, you have this soleus muscle. And researchers, I don't know how they came up with the question. They thought, okay, this is a super efficient muscle and super important for our like evolutionary, because it's so important for walking, to basically raise your foot. So they came up with this, they call it soleus push-up, but it's basically for everyone who does weightlifting, a calf raise, and doing it seated so that you don't activate anything else. And you do this kind of push-ups with your knees going up, or a calf raise. And then they measured all the surprising findings that this increased your glucose metabolism by so and so many percentages, and your fatty acid oxidation. And basically, if you want to lose weight, you only should do that. But obviously, this is a very small muscle, so getting that a kilocalories up. But I think in terms of efficiency, where we were coming from this discussion, this might be next to our heart, which is a special muscle, is probably the most efficient of those, and also activates all these pathways for us to activate, to burn and to deliver energy. But I guess we are not, in this regard, we're not that efficient, maybe. But again, not optimized for it. So not surprised. We are very efficient with information processing on the other hand, right? Because now you had a 4x difference, basically, and what could we compare this with? This 350 kilocalories would be the energy of an electric motor, or what? Would that be a fair? Like, it's simply the mechanical energy, right? So to some degree, you have to check how much a electrical motor would also have, what more energy you have to put in to get 350 kilocalories, right? And it's probably not 4 times. I don't know the exact
I also don't know,
formula.
also including the cooling and the whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But it's, I don't know. I hope it's not 4 times. For all electric car engineers.
I have no clue, actually.
Me neither. But in terms of intelligence, this is insanity, obviously, because we are, how many watts has the brain? I don't know, a few. It's like, people always reference it to less than a light bulb. And then we have these gigantic factories that need basically a power plant to power all these servers, to then train these large language models. And then in the end, they are amazing. They're useful tools to the world. But nevertheless, it takes you 10 minutes to make it stumble, or over a logical fallacy, nothing about knowledge, right? But really something about thinking, where you would think reasonably educated human with 25 years of age would totally get this, and then it starts to stumble because it's simply not like the difference in energy consumption is like orders of magnitude different, right? So there we are definitely efficient, and I would say.
So we should become some kind of matrix system where we can integrate our minds, and then we have very good
cyborgs
computing.
We are the Borgs. I mean, we are
Well.
wearing right now ancient technology to some degree. I'm pointing to my glasses, and these are not smart glasses. And quite, as I said, wonders of technology like microchips and so on our fingers that are deeply integrated into our lives. I mean, I don't have any invasive devices on me.
No.
You? Right now? Okay.
No. Not today.
Not today. Okay.
But
Yeah.
one thing I'm actually like getting a bit off topic here, but I think you are one of the people that I know that is the least concerned with looks, or like that is the most focused on just being healthy and efficient without caring too much about what it looks like, what you look like to the outside. Like, even for me, like I would rather, like I'm 180 centimeters, which is like, I guess 5'10", 5'11" in American units.
I can do this.
You are shorter than me. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're
I'm 173.
173. I would pay quite some money to be 180 and not 173, and I would pay even some money now to be 186 or something. I would rather be 186 centimeters than 180 centimeters. I think just being tall gives you some kind of more confidence and more advantage in life.
Yeah,
I think you really
definitely.
don't care.
No.
And I think this is also interesting how different people care about this. I guess being short has its advantages. I
get much later wet when it rains. At least, I don't know, half a second.
Yeah. But also disease risk will be lower.
That's true.
But I don't know how much this is actually like relevant in the real world.
Exactly, in population level, right? On the population level, it's true. On the individual level, I mean, to some degree, right?
But are there like sort of non-stochastic diseases that you are more likely for because of social stigmas when you're small? Like, are they usually lower on the social ladder, which in the end gives you a higher chance of?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not extremely short. I think the average is, I don't know if it's the European or the Austrian, it's 175. So I'm 2 centimeters short of that. But it's definitely true what you said in the beginning. The taller you are, the easier life you have in our world, definitely. And you see this bias as soon as you know it everywhere. If it's presidential candidates or elected officials, if it's people in leadership positions, there's quite the bias to tall people. And there's this explanation of both. They have more confidence, but it's a feedback loop. Because they were tall, they were given more attention, or authority was assigned to them, and so they took it implicitly, not even explicitly. And then there's this feedback, right? But I don't know, maybe I challenge this. Maybe I'm not thinking of it or have ever considered it because I have this limiting belief. I got what I got and I do the best with it. And I don't even think like you, if I could, would I?
But if you now think, what would your optimal sort of body design be, both in terms of height, but also ability to gather muscle, or ability to store fat, or ability to whatever? Yeah.
No, I think I'm also very lucky. I'm quite happy where I am. But I think I'm lucky in this regard that I'm there, this, it's a simplification, but I think it holds true to the degree that we can talk about it. There is like ectomorph, endomorph, and mesomorph, these body types. Ectomorph meaning heart gainers. People tend to have a high metabolism. They can eat a lot, especially in youth, they can eat a lot of shit. They even have trouble gaining weight, and if they want to gain muscle, they have trouble. And then there's on the other side of the spectrum endomorphic, which is much more anabolic. So basically, these are the people who say, I walk by a cheesecake and I gained 1 pound. But on the other hand, if they work out, they have a much easier time to actually build muscle. And mesomorph is basically the middle, that you have the best of both worlds. And I think, I don't know if it was my very young conditioning with doing a lot of sports and doing judo also competitively, where actually having a high strength to weight ratio is important. Like, you should be as capable as possible with the least weight that you have, because that's the stratification for the competitions. Maybe this also, and that means led to the fact that I'm somewhat mesomorphic. But I think you're also more on the mesomorphic side, right?
I don't gain muscle that easily.
Okay.
I can, but it takes
right? Yeah.
quite some time.
Okay. Yeah, but nevertheless, I mean,
Yeah,
as far as I can judge, you're also not.
not super skinny anymore.
Exactly. And
But I've also been lifting weights since I was 22, so like 15 years.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no, but back to your question, having a perfect design, I would also ask what I'm optimizing for, and I've been
whatever you are optimized for in life.
Exactly. And then it's like I've been for 13 years in a happy relationship, so the romantic side is really covered. So I would probably only change something if it was articulated that I should change this. And I asked, and for example, with the tooth, I asked her, and she said, I've never had a problem with it, but obviously, if you want to fix it, it's like it does look better. And she has done this before, and also you can really appreciate the before and after.
Yeah.
You can see that it looks different. More attractive people have it easier in life. We know that, also from studies. And yeah, I mean, from this perspective, I'm optimizing more again, coming back to our name, right? Fit for science. Science being currently my work objective, contributing to humanity. And I can only do this if I'm well slept, well nourished, well exercised, not ill, right? I mean, not only the absence of disease and illness, but actually going towards thriving instead of surviving. So this is for me much higher on this priority ladder than the other things. And I think this goes a little bit hand in hand, right? Have you ever seen someone who is eating well, sleeping well, lifting and running, and is somewhat happy with their emotional life that look awful? I guess we anyway optimize to some degree in attractiveness nowadays to people who are to some degree healthy. And maybe we always did it, right? Because attractiveness is just a proxy of biological mate finding to some degree.
Yeah.
So it's implicit in there. And also I have also only 24 hours in my day, of which I'm 9 in bed and sleep 8. So at least if I don't have the bandwidth. But how do you think about it? I mean, you said only the statement about height.
I mean, I'm from the Netherlands, so the baseline is already a bit higher there. I'm small at 180 in the Netherlands. I mean, 3 centimeters below average for my age group and sex. But I would rather be a bit taller. I also just think this is, I mean, I'm not in a happy relationship. I'm not in any relationship. And before,
this is like, should we put in a profile link? Like, if this is not an affiliate link, this is a profile link.
Want to date Rob? Apply at thequantifiedscientist.com.
You will all go through me. I will look through it.
I mean, I think this is not my main focus at the moment. My main reason I would want to be attractive, but I do think probably it plays a role for your self-confidence, which also always gets back to a degree, at least, to attracting to the persons you want to be attractive to, both personally and romantically. And I would want to be a bit taller. I think it's just because most of my friends are taller, and it just like I'm always like
mine as well.
In Austria, it's a bit better. In the Netherlands, my Dutch friend group, I'm like together with maybe 2 or 3 others, 2 others, I guess, same height. And then we have a few taller guys as well. So I'm not like extremely small. There's even a smaller guy in my friend group. But I'm always on the smaller end of the spectrum at 180 centimeters. So I think partially is that. And there's also, I think, just growing up, if I think to my childhood, not being the most confident in myself, I think being tall would be just a factor that I imagine in my head influences confidence. Like I never felt like an attractive person when I was younger. Not that I thought I was ugly, but I just thought I'm attracted to girls, and I thought no girl would be attracted to me. For whatever reason, this was my mindset. Okay. Somehow my thought would be, if I had been taller, maybe that would have been a different. Or now I think it's fine. I'm fine with my height. It's also not that I'm small.
No, not at all.
But it's just a feeling, right? So and I don't feel small, but I also don't feel tall. I feel like fine at the moment. But I think being taller would just have its advantages also in like business life and all these kind of things.
But you have to eat more, right? Whenever we go to canteen, and we have this, Florian from my PhD cohort, and he's just like, I don't know, half a meter taller than me, it feels. And we get the same portion size. I'm like, wow, you got the bad deal here. Paid the same. But he needs, I guess, 3 times as much to eat as me. And I'm not even full afterwards.
True. But I also still eat a lot. Like,
Yeah.
I still eat a lot. I guess if you do a lot of sports, you eat a lot too. True. No, I think I would like to be a bit taller, but I would also like to not go bald. And I would, like, you don't know what's going to happen.
It's true. I mean, again, lucky. I just
Yeah,
have not
you,
to
I
think
think,
about it.
are like, I have to think about it.
Yeah,
Like,
I know,
take
genetically,
finasteride, which is talk to your doctor before you take anything. But I decided to take it to prevent hair loss because my dad's super bald. Luckily, like, I did some genetic testing, which is not super reliable, but my dad's test said clearly likely to go bald before 40. And for me, it said not likely to go bald before 40. I was like, yes.
Yes.
but I'm still taking the finasteride just to prevent it. But if I had your genetics, I would probably just not think about it.
Exactly. So it's often, if you're lucky, and we don't know how lucky we are until we are unlucky in that respect. And then
so at the moment, I still have a lot of hair under here, but my hair wasn't done this morning, so I put on
the hairdresser didn't come around.
No. I also, I showered last night, and then if you go to bed with wet hair, it's like...
Yeah, it's like a bad hair situation.
Exactly. So you put in segment 3 called Tool Time Plugging, which... I didn't ask what it was.
This was a surprise. I brought even a device for it. And the name, actually, I was, just for the name, I was reminded, or I'm reminded myself on the way over here, that there is a name for it. And then I looked it up, and glad for AI.
It's called a plugger.
No, the device, I don't know actually how to call it, but the action you do with it, or that could be used to do, is plugging.
So Stephan brought an object for plugging, but we decided it's going to go in the next episode because I want to know everything about plugging.
We want to go deep.
And we cannot go into depth at the moment. So we will move on to the
something
next
funny for the
item.
end. Yes, I was.
Do you first want to address this or the fun? Maybe let's talk about this.
Let's talk about the elephant. I mean, all the bicycles in the room. So for the listeners who are not viewers, I'm sitting next to 4 bikes that are stacked on the wall, and I'm just wondering, is it a statement when you don't want to use a flag to indicate that you're Dutch, that everyone has?
Exactly. I'm not tall, so I need to do something else.
You need to have 4 bikes in your living room. So what's about this?
Let me think. So I have 1 bike on the other side, 1 bike behind you there, where I do indoor biking, which can also be outdoor. 4 bikes here, so that's 6. And then 2 downstairs. So I have 8 bikes at the moment here, but they all serve or served a purpose.
Okay.
So yes, I'm Dutch. I bike a lot. I think it's a very healthy, injury free, or not free, but very injury low prone sport.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been the thing. But I had some chronic pain issues, and for me, cycling was a major contributor to solving that. Or to making it a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, with knee problems also. I mean, I had a surgery once, and that was basically the exercise you need for rehab. You need to do it, right? So,
I mean, I've biked my whole life because in the Netherlands, that's just your transport. And I started doing biking for sport at 23, 24. In my youth, I didn't like it. And my dad did it a lot, and it always felt like I'm already biking to school every day. Why do I want to bike more? But then I started doing it to basically get better from something. That's when I started road biking, and this is the bike that is down there, which is like, to describe it, is like a white old metal bike, like a bike from the 80s with still shifters on the frame. Doesn't matter too much, but that's my first road bike, and it's the bike my dad rode to France when he was my age roughly. His wife divorced him. It was like a whole thing. But he needed some time, so he rode from the Netherlands to France.
So pilgrimage,
pilgrimage.
The Dutch version of a pilgrimage.
Exactly, with this bike. This was the actual bike that he rode.
This is museum, kind of a museum level artifact. You don't use it anymore.
I still sometimes use it. Yeah. I actually rebuilt it a bit so that it now has like fenders and stuff, so I can use it from day to day. But it's not the most comfortable bike to ride. But I used to ride this metal frame bike when all my friends back in the day had like fancy bikes. I would go on this, and it was so hard to keep up because they had like, because nowadays you have shifters on your handlebars, but this is like, just fiddling with there's no discrete gears.
Okay.
It's like a continuous system that you have to find the optimum so that that thing that moves doesn't touch the chain. Okay. So that's would want to keep that because it's my dad's old bike, but also because I used it for like a decade or so. I also use it for indoor biking. Then we have my old road bike, which is already a lot better. It's also my dad's road bike that he got after the metal one, so they sort of go up the family tree.
Yes. Or down.
Exactly. So, and then I have a new road bike, which you cannot see. So this is more or less superfluous now. So I might get rid of it at some point, but it's just still here. Then we have my backup bike, because I ride everywhere on my bike, and that's the bike downstairs. But when it breaks, it's so hard to fix because all the components are sort of integrated into the hub of the wheel, so I cannot get to the brakes or I cannot get to the gears.
You have to get it to a shop.
So I also have to get it to a shop, and then I couldn't bike for some days. So I would either use the public bikes or just ask very kindly at the shop to get it ready by that day. So I just, one Black Friday, like 3 years ago, I bought this very simple bike that has no gears, that has brakes that I can fix. So if the other bike fixes this, I can do. I can change the tires. I can do anything myself on this bike. Then we have a gravel bike, which is
something that somehow everyone has now, right? If you ask a random, I don't know, 25 to 35-year-old, they're like, yeah, sure, I'm biking and I have a gravel bike.
I think it's like the bike that's nothing but can be used for a lot of things. Like it's not a road bike, it's not a mountain bike, but you can sort of use it on somewhat tougher terrain, not like full mountain bike terrain. And you can, if you want to, if your friends go road biking, you can join them, sort of take it. But
it's posture, a generalist.
It's a generalist, yeah. The posture is less aggressive, so you sit less forward. It's a bit more comfortable for like long bike rides. It's actually more comfortable than a road bike in some ways. So yeah, those are my bikes, and I bike a lot. I don't have a driver's license, so
I don't even have one.
No. Okay. I've never. I've once driven a bike on a parking lot in America.
A car.
That's all my driving. I like an automatic car in an empty parking lot. That's all I've done.
I mean, effectively for me, it's the same. I have a driver license on paper. I mean, I have a card, but I haven't used it since 2018. So effectively, I'm also not.
Would you take driving lessons again before you?
If I would have to drive for some reason on a regular basis, I think I would first ask to do it with my partner. She's an amazing driver.
Okay, so she can drive you anywhere normally.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a Sheldon situation.
I've also done it with ex-partners, and they're not always happy with it. It's like when you're on holidays, like...
Exactly. It would be so great if you could also... exactly. Okay, this we have as well. But I first would try with her, I guess. And only if this doesn't work, I would take driving lessons. But I would definitely not just say, hey, okay, yeah, sure, let's go for a road trip. I think that would be dangerous. No, definitely dangerous. Which brings me to the second thing. I mean, cycling is, I think, great for the environment, for you, but it's a little bit dangerous in terms of traffic, right? How do you risk assess?
For me, it just brings me so much joy and convenience that I still do it. I think I take too much risk sometimes. Afterwards, I realize that because cars are just stupid often.
And they win, right?
And they win.
There is no, it doesn't matter if you
But
do
Viennese
the right
drivers aren't used to cyclists.
Yeah, not
and
so
you
much.
notice this. In the Netherlands, you're just safe. I just never felt... Like I've had so you cannot legally drive when you have alcohol in the Netherlands, but everybody does. It's like the way you get home from the bar is on a bike. That's just like, no, I never thought that it would be illegal to drive your like road bike or normal bike, like non-motor bike with alcohol. I didn't consider this like here in Vienna, you get a really big fine if you have.
You can even lose your driving license if you have one.
I think not anymore, but
okay. Oh, that's changed. Okay.
And I just didn't consider this in the Netherlands. That's just the way you get. Like, it's not officially legal, I think, but it's condoned, and everybody does it. That's just everybody. Like, when there's cops on the street in the area where everybody drinks, they will not say anything. And it's also safe because there's not much that can go wrong because you're always on a separate lane or it's like a one-way safe street.
And it's a physically separated lane to some
most
degree.
of the time.
I think a big issue. Like, if you have this
Mhm.
shared space, like often in Vienna, or you have a physically separated one with a a barrier, a physical barrier in the middle, that makes a huge difference, I think.
Yeah, I had discussions the other day a little bit with somebody that we were talking about risks in different parts of life, and she was worried about specific things. And I said, but every time you get on the bike, probably that risk is so much higher than the thing you're worried about now. And I somewhat realize it. Like I've had friends who were hit by cars in Vienna. And
In Vienna, okay.
In Vienna, like Thomas, for instance, it's a friend that you know. He like often cars will just sort of cut you off because they don't see you or they don't expect you to go as fast as we go. Like if they see a normal bike, they expect you to go a certain speed and then they just don't pay attention. And I've been cut off before, but I noticed in time and I brake. So, but I'm often just so annoyed with the cars and I'm like, no, it's my right of way. So I'm not gonna like, but then at some point you have to yield because, but I've even intentionally had cars almost hit, like that they almost hit you to show you that you were being annoying or whatever. I'm like, how can you risk my getting injured just to make a point? Even though often I don't think I was in the wrong, but it's like often like a BMW driver who's like a, almost always it's like a 30 or 40-year-old, like in between 30 and 50-year-old male BMW or summer driver that's being too aggressive, and it's crazy. Or taxis. They're also
they
quite
have
poor.
Different rules.
Exactly. They those are the ones that have cut me off most often, where I had to all of a sudden brake not to get hit, and I had the right to like they just there's in Vienna often the bike lane is just to the side of the road, and they will just like go in front of you, like they don't care.
That's what I mean with physical
like,
separation.
Yeah. And like I'm very much exaggerating here because of course you cannot say that every taxi driver is the same, but. Or getting doored is something I'm also much more aware of here, to be careful that that it doesn't, because people don't pay attention as much as in the Netherlands.
It's not yet really in the common conscious mind. I think that there is much more cycling going on, but I think it's increasing. And also there are bike lanes, even physically separating ones, popping up more and more. And it's a movement that I see and appreciate.
So but getting doored means that somebody opens the car door in front of you. I'm just saying for general, that people know what it is.
You stop very fast. At least the bike stops very fast. That's the problem, right? The bike stops, you don't.
You don't, no. But in Vienna, I wear a helmet. In the Netherlands, you don't wear a helmet. When you road bike, yes, because then you reach certain speeds. And it's becoming more a thing now, also for older people who use e-bikes. But to get back to your question, how do I sort of rationalize? I think the risk is still small enough and the health gain's big enough that it's worth it for me. But I'm very careful going downhill. I'm not brave going downhill, like with my road bike. And in the city, I sometimes have these moments where I realize that when I'm just commuting, that I need to be a little bit more aware that even though I have the right of way, I shouldn't just be like, right in the end. I have right, so you just stop. Like,
you don't want to be a quadriplegic who was right. That's just the effects of physics. That will overrule any law.
I've had some scary moments, but it's never really gone wrong. And in my life, I've fallen sometimes with a bike, and I think I've probably broken or bruised ribs, but didn't go with that.
But it was always something that happened during a bike ride.
Usually you just slip or something. I've slipped a few times on ice or on like, I don't know what you call them, like where cattle cannot walk over, like these metal bars on the middle of the. Usually they're on dikes in the Netherlands and Germany. And they are very slippery, especially when it's wet.
Metal, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
But would you consider biking everywhere in the world where you live, or would you always assess it with the situation? Because I think in the US it's even to some degree worse.
When I lived in the US, I cycled, but I was very aware in San Diego and Boston/Cambridge.
Okay. Yeah, Boston/Cambridge I've recently visited and was quite akin to European cities in a lot of respects.
Though still going from Cambridge to Boston, I didn't feel safe at the time doing that route, because then you get on bigger roads, and in the Netherlands that wouldn't be allowed to go on these kind of, because even though it is allowed, also in Austria, some roads just feel so weird to me that I'm there with the cars.
Because everyone is also so fast.
Because especially going on longer rides, you go from village to village, and you can go over roads where it's just cars. There's no separation, and they're going 50, really 70 kilometers per hour. So I don't know. I'm used to it now, but I always wear a helmet here. I've not fallen here, luckily. But of course, also here, riding in the mountains is more dangerous than riding in the Netherlands where it's just flat.
Yeah. With mountains.
Yeah. So no, and I like going up the mountain more than down the mountain, just because that's like effort and you feel good, whereas going down the mountain is just like scary
and risky.
Yeah.
True. Makes a lot of sense. Yes.
But you don't bike.
I don't own a bike. No, I have no bike. In the summertime or like I don't know, spring, fall as well. When the weather is right, we do use these rental bikes from the city of Vienna, which is great. Like it's now a corporate next bike, but they are great for small trips, but not really what you do. Like no mountain hill rides or something like nothing. It's just movement. I would say it's activity and movement, but it's not really an exercise in itself. But I am very conscious always of the risk like that we basically take, and I do not take this risk on a daily basis. I mean, I'm again privileged that I live as close to our workplace that I can walk easily in 20 to 25 minutes, depending on weather and energy levels and so on. But I really enjoy the walking part. And then we will talk about the blogging next time, which is related. And I do like to listen to a lot of content on the way. And even though I'm by foot and listening and I'm awake, I mean, it's morning and so on, I still then sometimes don't pay enough attention to all the traffic. I catch myself and I just realize if I would be on a bike now, it would be over. So for me, the calculus is basically, if I would be on a bike, it would take so much headspace and cognitive overhead that I would not be able to do anything else like on the way that I do. And I like these things. I don't want to miss them. But
I listen to audiobooks and it's fine.
Yeah, I know. But I would not. I'm just because people then say, okay, you get used to it, right? And you manage and you train these muscles, which is, I think, to some degree true. But I always have this hypothetical in mind. What if you cause a crash and something really horrible happens and you're involved in this process as a car driver and or as a cyclist, whatever the scenario, you are involved to some degree and it caused it to some degree. And you were listening to an audiobook, or you were smoking a cigarette, or you were eating a hot dog, whatever you do next to driving a car.
All three very unhealthy things.
Exactly, all three
hot
at the
dog,
same.
audiobook, cigarette.
Yes. I don't know. Wouldn't you wonder, or shouldn't you wonder, if the 5% or 10% of attention that you put into this, and there must be some percentage because it cannot be without attention, if you would have that, would it have sufficed to avoid this scenario? Obviously, you would never know, but I wouldn't want to live with this question in my mind. So in this regard, I do avoid it to some degree, but maybe I'm overdoing it a bit. But I just like walking as well. I must say I like walking a lot, more probably than most people. They see it as a chore. It's part of my activity framework and regime. So it's really something I rely on. So maybe that plays a lot also into it.
Okay, let's get back to science.
Funny science, actually. I was recently... I watched a short on YouTube from Hank Green, who basically introduced me to biology. So I took biology in university as a elective. It's a free elective because we had this kind of catalog where we have to put something. And then I was like, oh, there's an exam, and I was never really at the lecture. So I just read the slides, and I was like, that's not really comprehensive. And I found, I think it was back then called Crash Course.
Still exists.
Yeah, it still exists. Nice. And now he also has these SciShows, right? SciShow is also from him and his brother. Anyway, that's how I got to know Hank Green. And I watched during my biomedical engineering studies a lot of his stuff to catch up on the fundamentals. And then I didn't watch it for a long time. But he's a big thing on YouTube nowadays still, right? And now he has a channel where he just rants into the camera, which is a little bit weird. If this was the guy that taught you when you were kind of in university, and suddenly he has these rants in shorts or TikTok. I don't have TikTok, but apparently it's also on TikTok. And one of them was, he was like really excited, or not excited, worked up about hair.
Let's use better words. Hair on your rear end.
Hair on your rear end. Okay. And he was really like, why do we have that? And it should have a purpose because it's so annoying and he hates it. And there must be a purpose. So he did some research, and I think the bottom line is we don't know. But what do you think then were his... There were 3 hypotheses.
So first of all, I should mention that I think on average, like with facial hair, men tend to have more of it than women.
Yeah, I think so too.
On average.
Yes.
So I don't know if there's also an evolutionary just correlation where because of the extra testosterone, you just grow hair in more places and...
But your back does not have hair, right?
It does for many people.
Yeah, but for many people. But still, we're not covered, right?
No.
So there are definitely selection going on where hair is more or less, and which kind of hair, right?
I mean, there's insulation, there is...
Does it work there?
Maybe somehow with getting rid of moisture, it works better.
Yeah, actually, that's the theory that he preferred. Yeah, exactly. It's but why would you want to get rid of some stuff or retain actually some stuff, for example?
I mean, in general, I think you want to prevent infections and bacterial growth of bad things.
Yes. But he was more going down the lane of, which is related, reduce chafing.
Yeah.
By the movement of walking, because we are like bipedals and we walk a lot, as we discussed before. And he said one theory is that it was optimized to avoid then the chafing. And obviously chafing would lead to wounds, and that would lead to infection, especially in this spot where you have a lot of bacteria. And so this hair also retains not only moisture but fat that your skin gives off. And then it's kind of both the shape of the hair and when it kind of retracts is helping with like a lubricant for not happening. But then there was also one reason, one theory he didn't like at all. Could you guess? It's based on why we have other body hair that is similar in structure on different places, like in your armpits, for example.
But I actually don't know why we have armpit hair.
There it's supposedly, I mean, I just retell you this short, right, which was hilarious to watch. You should have a look. I'll send it to you. He said it's somewhat shown that this is to distribute better pheromones and whatever kind of smells that you might have to make you a unique smell that partner finding again is more custom.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what his second theory. You want to smell more, which is interesting in this end of the body.
Yeah. I don't know if these kind of like if there's a limit to smells that people can appreciate.
Yeah,
but
I don't know,
because we're living in a very smell-free world in a
Exactly.
way, like bad smell-free world.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess we used to be
Best-smelling
more
word.
used to musky odors than we are used to now.
There are a lot. I mean, whenever I watch these romanticized 18th century TV shows, and you see them wearing like wigs and stuff and a lot of powder, and you realize, they're weird. It's because it was so bad and so smelling and everything, and they had to drown out this smell. I don't want to remember.
So your recommendation is not shave down there. And my question is, do people that shave down there have chafing? Is that shown?
I don't know. He basically put out a call like, is shaving an issue, especially for people who don't have a lot of hair there and run a lot or something like that? He wants to know. I mean, there was a third potential reason, which is very unsatisfactory. It's that actually, obviously, evolution optimizes for fitness. But if something has no bearing on fitness, like either improving or not, it just leaves it alone, right? It's not part of the optimization landscape anymore. And that might be just it. It's just like a variant that does not matter and for some reason prevailed. But that's so unsatisfactory.
I do have to say, in my experience, of course, very scientific, but no, in my experience, if you shave down there, which I've tried in the past, if you do number 2, I think it takes more time to clean up after yourself than if you haven't shaved. And I didn't know why. I didn't investigate, but maybe it spreads out more easily. This is my thought. Okay. I don't think this is an evolutionary selective thing because toilet paper is a relatively new invention. Yes. But it was one of the things that made me realize, okay, maybe it's actually better not to.
That's a really interesting. I would not have bet on that.
But this was my NS1 testing imperfect.
I will not replicate.
But one thing I think we should close off. But one thing I wanted to ask is, how interested would you be in, for a few months, trying out, in addition to your Oura Ring, a Whoop strap on your biceps and sharing your experience? Would that be too much of a burden? Because that
Yeah.
would be an interesting test.
That's true. I will have to think about it because right now already putting on for running and so on, these things. As I said, it's become so convenient. It's such a convenient product that is non-obstructive. You completely forget it exists. And the only thing I do every day is putting it in the charger for 20 minutes and putting it on.
Mhm.
But it's part of I also put off my glasses when I go into the shower. So it's the same
Yeah,
act. And I think a strap is more obstructive. And I would have to check a second app, right?
Mhm.
The good thing with the running study is I don't check the results.
Yeah.
You have to figure.
But you have to sync it sometimes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it exactly, but I don't analyze it in
Yeah,
the sense
yeah,
that it informs my.
So for you, it
My
would be
day.
more of a burden, your first instinct, than
Yes.
a benefit. Because for me, it's
Yeah.
a benefit. For you, it's a burden.
Yeah, for you it would be a benefit if you would do it, or if I would do it.
No, for me, having
Yeah.
two devices
Yeah,
is a
exactly.
benefit.
When you said you can
Yeah.
check actually if one
I
goes off.
cross-check across the two.
I mean, this is a very good point that you get basically two data sources that are objectively
Yeah.
measuring something, and then only if they align, you obviously have more confidence. Yeah. I will think about it.
Cool. Then I think we've reached the end of episode 1.
Good one. Wow.
Of
What a
course,
story.
if you want to support us, subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to or viewing on. We will be figuring out how much to focus on pure science or a bit more free science over time, and just what we're interested in as well. So it will be a bit of a mix of everything, and hopefully make it as valuable for you as we can make it. So see you next week.